Three, two, one.
I'm going on an adventure!
This is a show about stepping out of your comfort zone. It's about leaving the main quest line for a minute to see what you're made of. It's about learning who you are, and if you can use your surroundings only to find your way home. We're setting off on a journey, and we want you to join us.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for another episode of Side Quest. It's not the main quest. It's off the beaten path. It's things you do just to see what's on the other side. I'm your host, Steven, joined as always by the amazing other hosts, Jacob.
Woo woo!
And he, TV's Travis. We are all here again to chat about what we did this week, figure out what we gonna do next time, and let you know how we feel about it all. So this week our quest was a 2-mile jaunt. Jacob, what were we supposed to do?
Yes, we were supposed to get blindfolded like a good Saturday night. But it wasn't Saturday night. It was Sunday morning. and get dropped off 2 miles as the crow flies from a location. And I think everybody chose the location of home. And then we had to make our way back. And we could choose whatever means necessary to get back, except we could not use GPS or any kind of electronic mechanism. But if we needed to, look on a map, we could look on a map as long as you didn't carry the map with us, as long as you can find the map. Or if you needed to see side roads or come up with landmarks or go with, lakes in my case, then you could find your way back using those tools. And It was fantastic.
It was probably the challenge I was looking forward to the most. I think it's the one that the first one we thought of when we were coming up with challenges because it sounded so darn fun. And I'm going to kick us off today simply to be the Debbie Downer of the 2-mile walk. Not necessarily Debbie Downer. Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, in the show notes, there's a video in the notes post show where if you get this in your podcast, you can, in your podcasting app, you can watch the YouTube video of me wandering aimlessly through suburban hell, as Jacob liked to call it. So I got wonderful chosen location that Jacob picked out for me in the middle of.
Before you get started, let me tell you how I chose the location, because I feel like we all need to do that because we each picked locations for each other.
Fair
and
enough.
I picked Steven's location, and so I had originally picked 2 or 3 different locations. And then whenever I brought them up to the women in our lives collectively, they all decided that was not a good idea. So then I'd bring up another one, and they'd decide that that's not a good idea. And they'd bring up another one, and I'm like, no, you can't drop him off at a Harris Teeter he goes to normally. You can't do that. Come on. What are you thinking here? And so finally I'm like, okay, I will get him one that's on a greenway and that's right over here in a perfect little location. And, he should be able to make his way back, I think. And they were like, don't do it. I'm like, okay. But I did it.
And what happened to me, Jacob?
Exactly what they said was going to happen.
Yeah. So I find myself dropped off in this suburban neighborhood that looks fancy. I'm like, okay, I know I'm on a fancier side of town in a fancier neighborhood, and keep in mind this is a 2-mile circle that around my house. So it could be places I go all the time, could be places I haven't seen in a while, could be places I've just straight up never been because I've never gone down that side road before. That was the case for all of us, to be fair. So I end up in this neighborhood, and I'm walking along trying to find my way out, and I come up with a strategy. Part of the way through, I'm like, I'm in a neighborhood. This is a Monday morning, post 4th of July. People have got to be leaving their homes or coming back. So I watch traffic as one of my techniques. I finally wandered across the house. I saw someone leave, back out of their driveway, and leave. I'm like, they're not going to another house in the neighborhood. Most likely, I'm going to go the direction they went. At which point I found myself at a crossroads, a left or a right, on a road I didn't recognize. It was fairly busy. There's a biker coming from one direction, and it was uphill. And uphill looked busier to me. Looked like more of a main road type situation. So I went uphill, and I thought, this is the more resistant path. But there's a little church up here. Going in, and then I find some townhouses. I'm like, where am I? Find a road closed sign and a bunch of brush. And on the other side of that brush, I saw a bus go by. I'm like, holy crap, I found a main road. So I get off the beaten path. I walk across this brush. I find a road I'm familiar with to a degree. However, let me express the first problem. I have been living in a pandemic scenario for a year and a half. Going around town and seeing how town has changed has not been big on my list of things. The road I was on, yes, was a road I had been on many times. However, a road I have not visited in a year and a half. The explosion of neighborhoods and townhouses and homes in the past year and a half is unbelievable. There's whole freaking neighborhoods where used to be farmland. I had no idea that I was even anywhere near where I was. I thought, Jacob, I thought honestly that somehow that 2 mile circle had placed me far up where you used to live in Morrisville. Like, whoa, I didn't know where the devil I was. That was the first, and that's miles away, and obviously ridiculous. But it felt that way because the road name was what I knew, but I didn't know it looking like this. So I'm like, which way am I going to go? I end up going a certain way for about 10 minutes. I get a phone call. It's my wife. You're never going to get home. Like, I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? Yes. And if you go the other way, you're going to die because there's nothing but ditches and nowhere for you to walk safely. I don't like it. And I was like, okay.
Was
well,
she sitting at a computer with like Find My
she
iPhone?
Was basically watching
around?
Find My Friends. Yeah, she's very paranoid
Okay.
about me being dropped off. So I go to a different direction. I'm like, okay, I'll go back to the neighborhood. I'll find a different route. I caved. I couldn't find my way to anything I recognized. I looked at the map. I'm like, it's going to take me 3 days to get home from here based on any of the routes that I think will lead me, like, not hobbling on the side of the road with crosstown traffic coming past me. I'm just going to give up. It was about 55 minutes into the quest. And I'm like, Jacob, you gotta come get me. I can't make it as far as I need to make it in a route that I feel safe trying to do. And it turns out, like, when we left after his pickup, there was a place I recognized, but I'm still like, I don't really know of a good way to get back without headache. You know what I mean? Like, there's a giant highway between me and my house. There's like just crosstown traffic situations. Like, I'm like, whatever. So anyway, got peaches and ice cream, went home.
Oh, it's for the record, I was sitting in a parking lot within a 5-minute distance of Steven at all times because I knew that if things did happen to go south, I better be close. If not, I would never hear the end of it from the women in our lives.
Yeah, it's and all in all, I enjoyed the walk. I understand a lot more about my limits in terms of what I know versus what I don't know about my own town. It was an area of town I haven't been in a long time. It was an area of town that has changed drastically since the last time I drove through it because now I know exactly where it is. I'm like, oh, snap. I know that just used to be farmland, and that's why I didn't recognize it. And I would have ended up at Wake Zone, which was like a really nice coffee shop. I would have if I'd gone the other way on the side of the road that people in my life were not very comfortable with me doing. There was also another path. Had I gone a different direction, I could have ended up on another side of the road of town where there was a nice road across from a shopping center that would have led me straight to, railroad tracks. Okay, I know where I'm going now. I got this. But I didn't go that way. And it's weird when you look at the map in a bird's eye view, you're convinced I know where to go. But when you're just dropped off in an unfamiliar space at that level, it's like when you're flying in an airplane, you're looking for your house when you're landing. Like, nothing looks like it, but you can't find a landmark from the air that you can find while you're driving. It's incredibly different perspective. Yeah. So anyway, I went the wrong way to start. It left me in a pickle. That being said, would do again. Just would probably rather be dropped off in a place where I'm more familiar with the surrounding area. Getting lost in a neighborhood's easy anyway. Being sandwiched between two roads I know would have been a little bit easier for me to navigate my way out. But that wasn't a challenge. The challenge was anywhere on a 2-mile radius, and I did not make it home. But that does lead to the comment of being sandwiched between two roads that you know, which leads us into Jacob's walk.
Well, hold on. Before we get to my walk, I want to tell on you just for a second. So the day before, it was 4th of July. We were sitting on the back porch. We were enjoying a nice afternoon smash burger that Steven has grilled to perfection. We were having a good time. And I had just finished my walk. And I was like, Steven, you know what would have been awesome? If I'd have taken a greenway. I bet I could have found a greenway coming out of there. I wish I would have taken a greenway. And Steven looks at me and was like, oh, a greenway. That sounds awesome. So what did I do? Dropped him off at the first place I could find a greenway because I was like, ooh, he said that would be awesome and that's what he would want to do. I drop him off and he goes, ooh, there's a greenway and there's a road. I think I'll take the road.
Yeah. Well, the greenway, everything looks the same. If you don't know where you are and you're walking through the woods, what different? And I looked at that greenway and it doesn't connect to anything important. It does a loop by a body of water.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't think it loops. I don't think that greenway, based on the map I looked at, goes to that road. I see it goes to a distance and then kind of stop, or it goes the other way and it loops around a small body of water. But either way, interesting challenge. Would do again, maybe with different scenarios. Anyway, sandwiched between two roads, Jacob, how was your journey?
Oh, I had a great time. So I get blindfolded.
Well, first of all, hold on. Travis dropped you off.
How'd you select it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I selected that. So you sent me your address. I pulled up a map. I put a 2-mile radius circle on there, and I started looking at the map. And I'm like, okay, so this corner I'm taking out because there's a major highway I can see running through there. I don't want him to have to cross that or anything.
How considerate of you, Travis. How considerate.
I mean, 64. Come on, there are crosswalks at 64. Stop it.
So then I just got looking around and just sort of guessed. I'm like, well, this looks like it could be interesting, and it's kind of winds back in there, and it's near a body of water, so that might help. I don't know, because I know nothing about where you live. Zero. I have been to the state of North Carolina once in my life. It was 21 years ago, and I got off the plane in Raleigh. I went to the hotel. I went to the track, and I went back. Like, that's it. So I literally just guessed. And when I sent it to Steven to take you there, he's like, ooh, that's a pretty good one. Because I think you said you went and drove by it or something.
Well, I use Google Maps as drive on the road scenario to just kind of drive and see that he wouldn't get painfully lost through there, that it was possible to find a road he knew.
And that was it. Like, my process was just like, there, that works.
Yeah.
Lots of thought put into it.
Yeah, and then he just verified with me that it wasn't a total dumpster fire of a location.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there you go. So how did it go, Jacob?
So whenever he dropped me off on the way, he brought Sambino. And Sambino decided that he was going to use that opportunity to tell me every different kind of joke that he could think of telling me, which was great because it completely got me turned around because I couldn't pay attention to the road and listen to Sam at the same time. So my coordinate system was just all jacked up because I was listening to some of the best jokes in the world. By the way, what is a patriotic bee? Bzz, patriotic bee.
You got me.
A USB.
I'm upset that I like that joke as much as you do.
So that's what we were listening to on the way to the drop off, and so whenever I unblindfolded myself, I looked around and I saw a body of water, and I'm like, I think I know where that lake's at. I just don't know where I'm on. I don't know where I'm at relative to that lake. So I turned around and I just started walking, and I happened to luck up on a road that I knew that married into another road that I knew. And so whenever it kind of collapsed down into a pretty easy route for me to navigate my way out of. But I had some understanding of where I was locally, and I knew which direction I would need to go to actually get back to the house. So I didn't feel like I was completely lost by any stretch of the imagination. I think it took me, 10 or so minutes. Well, the really cool thing is I had my aha moment as to where I was. I was taking a quick video just to tell everybody where I was at and what I was thinking and what I was doing. And I happened to look over and went, oh, shoot, I know where I'm at. There's that. And so the minute I actually caught that on video. So whenever you put up the links to the video, Stephen, you'll have to check that out. But then it just became, a Sunday morning walk, right? And it was a beautiful Sunday morning. It was about 80 degrees outside. It wasn't too humid. There was zero cars on the road. It just was a nice, quiet, comfortable walk. You put me through some green areas, which was nice. I had a great time. There was actually one point where I could have made a decision to take some side roads that I knew would get me home probably, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes faster. But I didn't know the exact turns. If I was in a car, I would have definitely taken them because I couldn't have gotten lost with the vehicle just because I would have been able to take a cul-de-sac very quickly and turn around and go the right way. But walking, it's a little bit different. You make decisions a little bit different, I think, than you do driving. And that I actually noted in one of the videos that I took real time was, I had the opportunity to shave a couple of minutes, but lose my coordinates a little bit, or maintain my coordinates, but lose a little bit of time. And so I actually chose to lose a little bit of time and maintain my coordinates because I felt like I didn't want to risk, getting not necessarily lost, but getting trapped in a suburbia hell and spending 30 minutes trying to get out because that's probably what it would have taken if I would have gotten lost.
How did you
But
decide when you hit that turning point where you got to that main road? How did you decide right or left? What did you use to work that out? Because that was my big concern. And what happened to me? I went 10 minutes the wrong way and had to come back.
So mine was based on the sun, actually.
I tried that and it didn't work
that.
for me, but good for you.
But the sun was at my back, so I knew that was going to be east, and I knew I was headed west, right? And whenever I got to that road, I had to choose either north or south. And I knew south took me to one road. I knew north took me to another road. And I said I would much rather go north because that's closer to my home. So that's how I chose right or left, just because I felt like I knew which direction I was headed. We never really said compasses weren't allowed.
I could have used
But
one
if
of
I would
those,
have had a compass, I would have definitely gone north at that point, regardless.
Yeah. Having been through it and thought about it, like a compass would have actually dawned on me last night because I've still been thinking about this. Like, compass. I should have thought to use a compass. That would have helped a lot.
Because that would be, I mean, that's orienteering. That's basically what the whole challenge was to
It would have been
orient
legal.
yourself. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would have been legal. It wasn't a map. It was just direction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The one thing that I really took away from this was I really enjoy those kinds of things, just trying to figure things out and trying to, I grew up hunting and I grew up in the woods and I grew up navigating myself and finding myself lost and trying to navigate around to known locations based on where I thought I might be and using a compass and those kinds of things. So this is not something that's foreign to me. And if you haven't ever done that, then I could understand some trepidation. But where I grew up and what I grew up doing, I never felt like I was too lost where I couldn't find a landmark, or I would just, keep going in the right direction until I figured something out. So I've had those experiences, and it was really nice to kind of feel that nostalgia again. And it made me yearn for it a little bit. I mean, I talk on the video a couple of times about how I'm excited to do this kind of stuff with William. I'm excited to teach him how to do this because I feel like it's a skill that not everybody has. But I grew up in the luxury of a farm, which that doesn't sound like the right word usage there. But I did. I had a wide open space where I could explore these kind of opportunities. And getting a chance to go back to some of my roots a little bit really made me feel good about myself, and it offered me a little bit of nostalgia. So for me, I loved this challenge, hands down my favorite challenge. I would do it every weekend if I had the opportunity and time to be able to pull that off.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's talk. I want to hear what Travis got into. And Travis, I can start
Sure.
with telling you how I picked your location.
Well, before you do that,
yeah,
though, I do have
sure.
one thing to say about it. So,
Sure.
so I did not choose my house as my starting point, my house. There's a reason for that. I live very rurally, and there's not much around here. My concern with that would have been not that I couldn't have found my way, but my concern would have been that there's a lot of back roads where people drive 60 miles an hour everywhere, and there's not a major highway, but it's a 2-lane highway right outside my subdivision. What I didn't want was having to be walking along the side of that or any of these roads where people come careening around a corner at 50 miles an hour. Um, it just wasn't going to be safe. So I chose a spot downtown in my hometown, and went from there. So now I'm curious how you selected the spot because you did a good job.
Oh, good, good. My main concern was finding a neighborhood. I actually found that kind of challenging to find a windy neighborhood in your area that looked like you could get lost enough in. Because I think we all went with the neighborhood approach because they all
Mhm.
seem the same when you're not familiar with them. All the roads look the
Right.
same. It's hard to determine anything. So I looked for a place that I thought wasn't off any main like gonna kill you highways, no yellow roads.
Mhm.
I didn't want that
Yeah.
for you. I didn't know anything about sidewalk situations there, stuff like that. I saw you've got a huge body of water nearby. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put him over here. I looked a lot of places and none of them. I'm like, that could be a sketch side of town. I don't know. So I'm gonna try to put him somewhere that looks like it's got some flair, some class, and I'm gonna dump him there. So I emailed your buddy Mark, and I said, "How about this spot?" And he asked me, I got to tell you this. He said, "How many times you figure I should swing him around that roundabout before I go in there?"
Yeah. Yeah, he told me that after the fact, which was nice. So yeah, and then so I get into his car and he starts driving me there. And I'll tell you what, being blindfolded riding in a car is a weird sensation
It is.
because
Yeah.
you're just not used to it. And there's a little bit of a brain disconnect because your brain knows you're moving, but you can't see it. So I think had it been another 5 minutes in the car, I'd have started getting car sick, and I
Yeah.
don't get car sick. Um, but I also had no clue where I was when he dropped me off. Not a clue. It felt like you had said that 2 mile as the crow flies. It took 15 minutes almost. It felt
Yeah.
like it took forever, and he was turning right and turning. I don't know if he took a direct route or if he like kind of serpentined around. I'm not sure, but I had no idea where I was when I got out of the car. And I get out of the car. So a few things. One, my town isn't that big, and I actually know it incredibly well. I grew up here. I have walked basically every section of this town, and I have spent time as a cab driver and a delivery driver around here. So I spent a lot of time learning it. Um,
You
but
know your way around. It sounds
oh,
like.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely do. But I still got out of the car and I'm like, all right, where am I? None of this looks familiar. But then I could sort of. You mentioned there's a big body of water. I knew what direction the body of water was from me, but all that told me was because of the way the town sets up, that could have been west, east, or north.
Yeah.
So then it was like, okay, now I need to and where I was ended up only having sidewalks in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
So had I gone the other way, it would have taken me a little bit longer to get my bearings because I would have kind of gotten lost in that suburbia
Yeah.
and I didn't know any of the street names or anything like that. My only clue was that the addresses in that spot were 5 digits, and I know there's only so many areas in town that have 5 digit numbers. Again, delivery driver, right? I had to learn
Wow.
these things,
Yeah.
so I
That's
know.
impressive.
That's cool.
I know, yeah, like I know the way addresses are formatted. I know how all your odds are on one side, all your evens are on the other side of the street, and kind of all that sort of stuff. So I'm like, okay, so it's a 5 digit number. So it's probably over here. I started walking and then I started hearing some traffic and I realized, oh, okay. So I moved towards it and that's when I figured out where I was because there's a road. It's M72, Michigan Highway 72. So I'm like, okay, I know this road. I don't know what part of it I'm on, how far up or down I am, but I know that road and where it is. So now I know a direction to go. And there was a footpath that went along near that road, so I didn't have to walk on
Good.
the big road.
I really didn't know.
Um, yeah, and I had to cross it at some point, but no big deal there because it was down further where the traffic slows down as it comes
Mhm.
up to the water. And at that point, I was like, great, I know where I'm at and I can get back. So it was between 5 and 10 minutes of kind of getting my bearings, figuring out, okay, the water's this way. There's a major road over here. Great. Now I know where I'm at. Now I can start making my way in. And then as I get closer to the downtown area, I'm just enjoying a nice walk, and I'm like, ooh, but our big summer festival is happening, and I don't want to deal with all those people, so I'm gonna shoot off this way and go through this neighborhood. Um, but it was a ton of fun. I would love to do a challenge like this in a place that I'm not as familiar with for a couple of reasons. One, I'm a nerd when it comes to finding my location. So like when I travel somewhere, I immediately am getting out maps and figuring out where I am in relation to other things. And like my first trip ever to New York City, I went to my cousin's apartment, and on the way there, I grabbed a subway map and I spent all night studying the subway map to figure out routes on how to get where I wanted to go in town. And that was what I did. I do that every time I travel. I try to figure out, okay, here I am. Here are the places I need to go. How am I supposed to get there? So I would love to do a challenge like this in places that I don't know as well and as intimately as I know my hometown, um, to see how quickly I could find my way around. Because
Yeah.
it was an interesting challenge. Those first few minutes were like, oh, this is tricky because it was street names I didn't know. All the houses looked exactly the same, or they were condos, and I'm like, that could be anywhere. There's a ton of different places. It wasn't until I found that major road that's what gave it away.
Yeah.
And then as I was walking back, I'm looking around thinking, ooh, if he had picked over there, that would have been even tougher because there was a spot that would have been very similar to what I had, but on the other side of the major road, tucked in behind some things.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have taken me longer to figure my way out.
Yeah.
Once I kind of got out of whatever neighborhood I was in, I was pretty confident I was going to be good to go, just based on how much time I've spent walking this town.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you did a good job finding something that was a little bit off the beaten path, which I was glad to see.
Well,
So
there's
that
a
was
lot of
nice.
stress. Like I found it to be kind of stressful picking a location in a town I did not know at all.
Yeah,
Like that was hard because I was thinking the whole time like, okay, I don't want Travis to get murdered. I don't want Travis to get hit by a car. I don't. There's like all these little things you're thinking of, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Like, I don't know where. I don't know any. I don't have a crime map of where Travis
yeah.
lives. Like, I
Well,
could have looked that stuff up, but I figure having sent it to Mark, if it was a sketch area, my hope would be he'd go, I'm not dropping Travis off there.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the nice thing is the sketchiest area around here is like somebody is going to yell at you.
sure. Yeah.
Like there isn't sketchy around here. It's too small of an area.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of, when you were dropped off and you didn't know where you were and you started walking around,
Mhm.
did you feel any sense of, I need to hurry up and get out of this neighborhood? Um, or
I
were you comfortable in your shoes and you just like, I need to figure out where the heck I'm at? Do
I
you know what I
was
mean?
okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to describe it,
Did
but
you
No,
there's
feel
that
I
sense?
know.
uneasy feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Not. Yeah. Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, I did not feel uncomfortable. But I did, as I was walking, I did think to myself, I wonder what people in their houses are thinking
Yeah.
if they look out and they just see some dude get out of a car and start walking for no reason.
Blindfolded dude, get out of the car.
Um, but overall, like I say, I've spent so much time on foot in town everywhere that I don't have any spots where I'm uncomfortable. Plus, it's too much of a small town America for me to really feel that.
Mhm.
I mean, literally the worst spots. I've lived in the worst spot in town, and it's not not scary at all.
You're an imposing figure anyway. Most people are not going to
Yeah.
mess with the tall bearded guy.
That helps. That does help.
Even if you're nice like a teddy bear, everybody's like, "Ooh, I could pick on somebody much smaller than him."
But yeah, it was interesting to try to figure that out, and then after that, it was just a nice walk. And I stopped at a local store, grabbed a drink on my way, got
Mhm.
stuck behind somebody buying all the tequila. Um,
All of
See,
it.
I forgot. Yeah, you could buy liquor in grocery stores there, can't you?
yeah, this was a little
Mm.
party store. Actually, it was kind of neat because a friend of mine owns it, and he renovated the whole thing, and it was the first time I've been in there since then. So that was
That's
kind of
awesome.
fun.
I did have that hope that I'd be on the side of town with the Dunkin' Donuts, and when I did find my way out, I'd just walk past the Dunkin' Donuts and grab a coffee and keep meandering my way home. Um,
I did
Jacob,
pass a Caribou Coffee, and I was a half inch from stopping in, but there was
Oh,
a
yeah.
line out the door on a Sunday morning. So I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Jacob, you asked if you had a sense of urgency or a sense of unease. Did you feel that when you were dropped off?
No, not at all. I
Okay.
didn't, but I know that's. I think that's some of people's fear is that maybe they don't feel like they belong in that neighborhood or something, so they want to hurry up and get out. And
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody even mentioned it whenever I brought it up to them because I was talking to somebody from work about what we were doing, and just little things like that I didn't necessarily feel, but I know that some people might see that as a reservation or a roadblock as to why they wouldn't try to do something like this or find
And
themselves.
and
Go ahead.
that's a perfectly valid thought. Like
Yeah.
that's something that I wouldn't think about here because again, it's tiny little town in northern Michigan where there's nobody and I've lived here forever, so I know it well enough.
Yeah.
But if I did live somewhere where I maybe only lived there for a couple years, I didn't know it, or it was a larger metropolitan area, there would be that. I mean, I've had that feeling before when I got on the bus in the wrong direction in New York City and ended up in Harlem, and I
Yeah.
didn't know where I was, and I had to sit and wait for another bus to come going in the other direction. Like I didn't feel. I didn't feel uncomfortable there, but I knew I didn't want to be just wandering the street aimlessly for too long,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because that's just not it wasn't where I planned to be,
Sure.
and that was what made me uncomfortable with it. So I could see that, and I could definitely see, somebody if there's parts of town that you worry about. I mean, there's parts of Detroit that I would be worried about being dropped off in,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Or Grand Rapids is another major city kind of close to me. There's other areas where I'd feel fine, but there's definitely parts where I'd be like, yeah, you know what? And I would hope that whoever's dropping me off, if we were doing a challenge like this, would know that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, whenever I was picking location, I actually vetoed a couple of spots because I knew that either one, it would be not a bad part of town, but just a little rougher part of town than I think um, I would want to be walking through. And number two, you would have to go through a rougher town to get back to where you were going. So it's like I already vetoed that whole side
Yeah.
because I just don't. That's not something I'm studying.
Mm-hmm.
Or the inverse, which is going to an area that everyone is going to be questioning why you're there because it's not necessarily a gated community, but it's closer to that. It's
Mm,
public streets going through there, but it's people, it's busybodies, or it's people that look down on on other people because sadly those people do exist. And I mean, I don't run into that a whole lot again around here, or just based on how I look, which is again an unfortunate thing. But
Sure.
I'm sure there are people that I know that wouldn't want to have to walk by themselves in certain parts of town
yeah.
for the exact opposite reason, not of feeling like they're going to get jumped, but
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to get persecuted or profiled in some way, which is horrible to
Mm-hmm.
think about. Um,
Yeah.
so
You don't
yeah,
want the sheriff pulling up and going, "How about you just keep on walking?"
yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and then
That's
the
how
other
First
part
Blood
was
started.
the deliverance component to that. You don't want to also drop them off at a place where there's nobody out there except for the other brother, and the other brother,
hmm
and they're all
Larry Darrell.
questioning what you're doing there because only brothers live on this street.
Yeah.
uh, and Amy brings up a good point in chat, which is she gets catcalled
Yeah. Which is a whole
when she
different
goes out
thing.
Yeah.
and walks.
Mm.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have that problem.
No.
I don't get catcalled when I'm out walking, but that is something that is one just heinous, but also it shouldn't happen, and it's a bummer that it does because again, it limits what you are comfortable doing,
Yeah.
and for something that's completely out of your control that you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely see where that would make it a little more difficult.
Well, it sounds like overall for us three, we had a good experience. Whether you could count all of them successful, I feel like I did not succeed. I'm still bitter about it. I still wish I could have pulled it together, and I want another go one of these days. But overall, I learned a lot about what I know how to do and what I don't know how to do. You just think I was pretty good at direction, could kind of figure stuff out, and ended up going the complete opposite direction that would have probably tacked on about 45 to 50 minutes to my walk. I would have eventually found a road I know, and would have been like, holy crap, how did I get here? And then immediately felt just tons of despair as I realized how off track I was. Um, But no, it was a really cool adventure.
Steven, when we were riding back,
Yeah.
and when you were in the car riding back, and you saw kind of the direction that we went back to the house, what were your thoughts then? Was it just still failure, or was like, oh shoot, I was only 10 minutes away from being in a perfect spot where I could have found my way back?
It's the difference between knowing the answer in hindsight and not knowing the answer like ahead of time. Like there's no guarantee I would have even gone the way you went to get me home. Like there's no guarantee that I would have turned that direction and found that landmark and known, okay, here I am. I definitely see how people, like, you're in a survival scenario and you're like just trying to find the one thing, and they tend to find people like a block from somewhere useful. There was a tech reporter years ago who passed away in the mountains, like literally 500 feet from a cabin with supplies in it. And it's like, I get it now. Like I have full understanding of how that happens, because you don't know where you are. Like you don't know that over that crest is the oasis that you need. All you can think of is, I've been walking forever and I can't do it anymore. And that's the stunning thing about it. So I don't feel like, oh shoot, I should have just kept walking, because I don't know that would have even been in my mind to go the way that ended up being the right way. It's kind of like getting to Davis Drive, the road I was on, and thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna go this way, and then getting a call like, you're going the wrongest way. The wrongest. You're actively leaving the circle. You are going.
Here
to
was
find
the
the
2 mile
boundary.
radius. You have now exited.
I
the
have
2 mile
exited it,
radius.
and I am on my way farther from everything. And I mean,
I
at
think
first
that might be my favorite part of your story, by the way, is you're just walking along and you just get a phone call from your wife, and she's like, "Hey, idiot, you're going the wrong way. Turn around."
Yeah, it was like, I have to course correct him, and I'm just like, I picked it up. I didn't even say hello. I said, I'm going the wrong way, aren't I? She said, you are going the wrong. Yeah, she was definitely not excited about my wrong way situation. But that's part of it, man. That's part of it. That's what happens. You get out there. So yeah, I mean, I would do it again. I would start from a different spot, maybe a brew pub down there nearby, and go from there and make a 2 mile radius and see what that does.
I do feel like we need to do it together, not just you and me, but like a group of folks need to do it together, and
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Now,
it
here's
was
a question.
fun being out there by myself, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you. So we're all old enough to have existed before GPS maps were a normal thing that everyone used constantly, whether they were in their car or on their phone, walking around or whatever. So I know when I was young, up until, I mean, even when I was, in my early 20s, it was the best you could do was go onto MapQuest, get your maps, and then print out 87 pages with all your turns and everything. But do you think that made for an easier baseline to start from in getting your bearings and figuring out how to get somewhere, because you haven't had to be reliant on that technology for most of your life? In other words, do you think somebody who's 20 or under 25, who has pretty much had that available to them at all times, would they have that same sort of, because I don't know that if I were 20 years younger, I would have the innate, like, oh, I need to figure out my surroundings mentality that I do. Whereas when I was younger, that was just a thing that I needed to do because I didn't have another choice. I'm just curious if you think what you think on that line.
For me, I don't think I have an innate sense of direction, which is funny because I did not find my way home. But I've always been around people who have. Like, I just follow people who know what they're doing. And when so a town I've lived in forever, like my previous town I was in before where I'm at now, I knew that pretty darn well. It was trying to get lost was difficult. Like, I'd go find roads I'd never been down and just drive them. Mm-hmm. That was a fun date for Stephanie and I. Let's go get lost for a little while. We got gas. If you got gas, you can't get lost, right? So we just drove everywhere. But here, ever since I moved here, there's always been GPS. There's always been phones and things to get you where you need to go. And there are landmarks I know, but it's only because I travel them a lot. How to get to church, how to get to the grocery store, how to get to work, and those are all very defined routes. How to get out of suburbia northeast of my house where I never go because that grocery store is too far away. Why would I? Is a whole different animal. I don't think my sense of direction, even having grown up without them till I was like 25, 26, when I had Google Maps really started working its way out there, probably earlier than that, I did not develop enough of that. Jacob, I'm interested in your perspective, though.
I don't think so. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I'm not sure age or the fact that we grew up with it or didn't grow up with it did. And I'll give you a good example why. My father and I went on a Transamerica Trail. It was a set of dirt roads that led from one end of the country all the way to the other end of the country. And we rode dirt bikes. It's off the beaten path.
Mm-hmm.
My father, who was probably, I don't know, maybe 55, 60 years old at the time, whenever we did it, he was solely reliant on GPS. I mean, he was a GPS guy. He didn't grow up with it. That's
Right.
what he used. Me, I was not. I mean, you would think that I probably was more in tune with technology, which I was. I was able to use it more effectively. I feel like I had a better handle on it than maybe he did, but I refused to rely on the GPS. So I'm the one with the map on the hub of my motorcycle. I had a roll chart with GPS coordinates, like a manual roll chart of GPS coordinates that we had tracked out the whole map. Just so that I knew how to get there, longitude, latitudes, the whole 9 yards I had mapped out on my gas tank. And there were some roads that the GPS just didn't think existed. Mm-hmm. So my father would actually stop and let me go ahead of him because he knew that I knew the route because I had the map and the coordinates already laid out. So he would let me lead for, I don't know, a section of 40 or 50 miles that the GPS did not even know existed. And so I'm not necessarily for me, I look at that and I go, age didn't have anything to do with it. The access to technology or experience with technology had nothing to do with it. It was just what my father was comfortable with at that moment versus what I was comfortable with at that moment. And I was a little more comfortable with something that was a little more known, which was maps. And I knew that GPS relied on, like Garmin's or whatever, relied on updates that people manually updated or input in. So I felt more comfortable in that situation. So I feel like it just depends on what you feel comfortable with for a defined situation. In that case, it was maps. In this case, it might have been, for me, it would have definitely been a GPS. If I would have been able to whip out my phone and plug in an address, I guarantee you everything would have been mapped. But in maybe a different location, maybe not. Maybe an actual hardcore or hard copy of a map would have been better.
I think this actually tracks pretty well because Jacob, you are a prepper. You're a planner. You're a person who gets all their stuff in order before they start, which I think lends itself to that latitude, longitude coordinates and how you're going to do it. Like in the event the technology failed you, which it did, you had a backup plan. Which is completely contrary to how I roll. My dad and I went and rode horses at a national park. It was like just two bumbling guys enjoying horses with no idea where we were. Just going around in circles going, is this trail all right? I think this trail's the one we're supposed to be on. Maybe. I don't know. I serendipitously cruise my way through life just going, everything will work out. Which leads to how everything would have worked out. However, it would have been a very long and arduous task for me to get back home in the direction I was going. No, go ahead.
So what
Travis.
I'm hearing is you're Marcus Brody, is what.
Oh
I'm hearing.
yeah, and speak
You get
several
lost in
different
your own
languages.
museum.
Yeah, get lost in my own museum. Sure, I could probably pull that off. But that was me and my dad both. We had the trail thing, and then when the technology failed, my dad's like, "You broke it. I don't know where we are anymore."
You broke it.
He did. I took his phone, and the trails weren't showing up, so I backed out of it, and then it didn't have connection to get back into the map. And he's like, "You broke it. We don't know where we are now." It's like, no, it's fine. We're gonna follow this keep the pink, they staple those things into the tree, like the pink squares or whatever. Like, keep the pink square on our right, and we're just gonna keep following the trail till that strategy failed, and then we took a shortcut. But yeah, all in all, I think we had a good time. I think I would enjoy doing this with multiple people, with full support of the spouses to go be idiots together. We'll see you someday. Don't die. I think those kinds of things could lead to a really fun adventure, where, like you were saying, Travis, pick out the places where you're not gonna, like you didn't pick your own house because you knew you'd be walking beside a 50-mile-per-hour highway. Didn't want to get by a car. So I would advise other people do this. Give it a shot. Have a friend find a place that's a good spot and give it a go. See what you're doing. Do what Jacob and I think we're gonna do next time and start and stop at a pub. So you can grab a nice beer after you get back. Make it a club. Spread the word. Make a bunch of idiots get together and not know where they are. Should be a great time. Should do that with the Irish wristwatch one day. Just get everybody together.
There's a few people, or there's a few places around here I'd kind of like to try that with.
Yeah. It'd be fun. But we do have some feedback because we had other people participate in this with us. Most namely, the MVP of the season, Amy, has joined us again on this mission. I'm tickled about it. Travis, what did she send us? What was her adventure like?
So Amy, our season MVP, I live in the heart of suburbia. Imagine what you think a mid-sized, quaint New England town looks like. That's exactly where I live, smack dab in the middle of it. I also don't drive, and as a result, do an awful lot of walking. So it didn't take long for me to follow the noise of traffic out of the weird little housing development I'd been dropped off in and know exactly where I was, which did, I admit, make me quite proud. Now, if I'd had the time and the resources, I probably could have gone further afield and made it more of a challenge. But also, I am an indoor nerd. So we'll go ahead and call that the more challenging aspect for me.
Well done. Well done, Amy. Very cool. I mean, as long as it's a stretch, that's the whole thing. Like, if you want to give it a go and put yourself in whatever situation makes you a little uncomfortable, not like scorpions down your pants uncomfortable, that's the goal. So, well, good on you for getting out there and getting that
no
try.
Joe Rogan uncomfortableness.
No, that's not what
you don't need to go that far.
That's not what Side Quest is about. Did we get any voicemails this time, Travis? I haven't heard from you.
We did not.
No,
I've been checking. I keep an eye on the voicemail box. It's very quiet there. So
disappointed.
I know.
Travis, what's that number if they do want to send us a voicemail?
If you want to call us, leave us a voicemail. Try to keep it under 60 seconds if you can. 231-486-5401.
There you go. We can hear your adventure from your own mouth. And if you want to send us a little blog of sorts about your adventure, you can send that to dearsidequest@gmail.com, just like Amy does. You can also join us in our Discord chat at twoworks.net/Discord. Join in, tell us about your stuff during the week. We'll follow up with you and see how things are going. This was a good one. This was fun. All three of us documented our journey on video. Mine's on a YouTube video. I think Travis, we're going to get his up there. We're going to compile Jacob's together, get his up there. It'll all be in the show notes. If it's not there when you download this podcast, go to legionofdorks.com. We'll post them all there so you can watch them. That's legionofdorks.com and see how all of our adventures went live while we were doing it. Now comes the next fun part. The results of our latest poll, quest number 6. Jacob, we had 2 things here. We had reconnect with old friends and cook with an obscure ingredient. You ready to do a drum roll?
Let's do it, baby.
Cooking with an obscure ingredient is the winner. Jacob, what does this quest mean? Oh, Travis, go ahead.
I was just going to say, by a pretty wide margin, too.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It definitely won out.
Nobody likes their old friends.
That's the second time we've kicked old friends to the curb.
Keep kicking it down the curb. Jacob, what is this one about?
So we've got a list of, 10 or 12 ingredients that are fairly obscure. Not obscure enough where you're going to have to order it off, Amazon or some other weird ingredient website. But you can get it in, grocery stores. Maybe you'd have to go to some specialty grocery stores. And then come up with a dish and cook said dish with the obscure ingredient. And we've got things on there like oxtails and jicama and what are some others? I think
Oh,
black
yeah.
garlic's on there.
Black
and
garlic's
there are
on
quite
there.
a few.
Yep.
Yeah, but the whole point is to kind of stretch outside of your comfort zone and do something new with something new.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
trying a new
So
ingredient and a new recipe, like
Yeah.
double
Yeah.
whammy. I like it.
there you go. So for all our chefs out there, this one should be a lot of fun. Just FYI, we're going to spin a wheel of those 10 ingredients. We're going to pick 3. There's a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary. Doesn't mean cook with all 3. It doesn't mean you get to pass on the first one if you can find it. It's basically a cook with this one unless you have trouble sourcing it, and then cook with secondary unless you have trouble sourcing it, and then cook with tertiary unless you have trouble sourcing it, and then I don't know what to do for you. But
Then we'll go to plan B, which is can you get access to this one?
Just go.
What about
go to
this
town.
one?
Yeah. Think of your own obscure thing you've never cooked with and go with it. We're pretty loosey goosey over here on Side Quest. So let's spin for our first ingredient. We've got the wheel up on the screen. Let's make it happen. Let's spin this wheel. Non-chicken eggs. Non-chicken
Ooh.
eggs
I
is
knew
our
it was
first
gonna land on
boy.
that one.
Non-chicken. So what is a non-chicken egg, Jacob?
I mean, it's going to be like quail eggs or duck eggs or any other kind of eggs. I mean, you can find them at pretty much any grocery store. Ostrich eggs, yeah, you
Ostrich
can
eggs,
find
cool.
those.
So I guess the goal here, sure, you could scramble them if you want to just cheat. But I think what you'd want to do is potentially make some sort of souffle with those eggs, or some sort of egg. What do you make with eggs? What are those things?
Or you
Quiches?
could do quiche. I mean,
Quiches with eggs?
yeah, this is why I was hoping eggs didn't win because this is just like cooking with normal eggs, but it's just a little bit different.
Well,
They'll
here's-
taste a little different. They may be a little gamier. They may be a little more. Yeah, we'll have to see.
How about
That's
this,
What
Jacob?
everybody's experience is.
How about we satisfy you by saying, if you're comfortable cooking with these eggs, move on to the secondary ingredient. Try something new. So we
Do
turn it on
both.
its head.
Combine the two.
Challenge yourself. That's the goal
Poached
here.
eggs.
If a
There's Amy
non-chicken
says
egg
poached.
is not a challenge, then don't do a non-chicken egg. That's why we're going to spin for
Ooh.
3 things. Wait till we get something challenging. Let's try the next one.
Ooh,
Let's see.
sunny side up ostrich egg though. That would take your entire Blackstone griddle to cook.
Ooh.
Yes. It's like a dinosaur egg. Clunk, thunk.
You can do that. I've watched this lady on YouTube do that with an ostrich egg, and it's massive. Like the yolk is huge, and it barely cooks. It like ends up being this nearly raw soup. It's really weird. It's pretty insane. All right, spinning the wheel for the secondary ingredient. Here we go. Black garlic. Black garlic is our second
Ooh.
ingredient. I didn't even know they
I
made
bet we
black
could
garlic.
mix those two.
You probably could,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
We're coming. Yeah, you're coming into a potential combo here. It's good stuff.
Oh,
Good stuff.
oh
All
you
right.
could really make it crazy.
I didn't even know there was black garlic. This is new to me.
Mm-hmm.
No idea. All right, spinning the wheel for the tertiary ingredient. Horseradish or wasabi. Oh, snap.
Ooh.
Do these 3 things go together?
I bet we can figure something out.
Horseradish
definitely.
and wasabi. Okay, fun question. Is there anything on that list you were hoping we'd get that we didn't get? Solely for the challenge of it. Here, I'll bring the wheel back up.
Oxtail. I was excited about cooking oxtail or
Okay.
shank
Oxtail would have been one.
because I would have gone straight to the butcher up here and said, "Give me oxtail."
Yeah.
At
We
the butcher's market.
So for sake of completion, we have oxtail, dragon fruit, lavender, jicama. What's that one? It was the anchovies one. Pickled herring or
Pickled herring.
anchovies. Jackfruit and charcoal were all the other choices.
I was glad charcoal didn't get chosen. I would have
Yeah,
hated that.
that wouldn't have been good.
This is where
No,
I'm
I think,
proud of my ignorance.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you, Jacob. I think that the oxtail would have been really interesting to have to deal with. But I have an idea of something I want to do with non-chicken eggs. So
I got to find some non-chicken eggs. I know where I can
Ooh,
get.
Do
I can quail
hollandaise
eggs.
sauce with non-chicken eggs. Eggs Benedict. Booyah!
Eggs Benedict. All right. I've had that before.
Mm.
See, now he's excited. At first, he's like, meh. And now it's like, ooh.
Hey, a good hollandaise sauce is number 1, hard to make, but number 2, really flippin' good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
You're not wrong there.
I'm looking forward to it because it's, for one thing, thank God it's eggs. I am no cook in this. Anything. If it was going to be oxtail, I was going to just poop my pants. Like, I was going to have to use my free space and get out of that. But no, this is non-chicken eggs I think I can handle. I would like to get an egg that is not just like a quail egg. Maybe a duck egg. Maybe try some duck eggs or something. I need to find something that's not super simple. We'll see. I'm sure there's some great recipes for tiny eggs. What about Cadbury cream egg? Does that count?
Oh,
That's a non-chicken
hey,
egg.
That is a non-chicken egg. It is Cadbury cream egg time.
I am a dessert person, so I could probably pull that off. Make a fun dessert out of that. Very cool. So, okay, so we got our ingredients. Talked about what we wish we had. Anything makes you nervous about this? Any goals? Is this feeling like a pretty, after this last week was kind of intense, this feels like a pretty calm one for you guys? I'm getting that sense anyway.
I'm a big fan of cooking challenges, just as a way to express some creativity and do something different. And I need to get my cooking spark back because since our culinary world tour, my food choices have been suspect at best. I have been bad at it, so I need something to kickstart it and get it back in gear. So this is perfect.
There you go.
Maybe next season we should just do a culinary season.
Just nothing but cooking challenges. Thank you, Jacob. I look forward to suffering through nothing but cooking challenges for a whole season.
Stop it. You got a Blackstone, and you can rock that Blackstone out. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Stop it.
I can kill that Blackstone. I intend to cook this on the Blackstone. Like that's gonna be the goal. That's whatever I got to do. It's going on that Blackstone. Yeah, I'm a little anxious about it simply because I'm not a cook, but I'm thrilled to be doing it with you guys. Oh, speaking of Culinary World Tour, I meant to tell you guys this. Stephanie was so inspired by our Culinary World Tour that she started a Culinary World Tour with Sam. They're taking a pin. They got a world map and a cork board, and they are taking a pin and letting Sam choose the country, and then looking up a recipe from that country and we're going to make a dinner. The first up is Russia. So
that's so cool.
Stephanie's found a cool. I mean, it's the largest landmass. It's a single country. So Sam's just like, boom. That one looks good. But we're going to be poking pins in all the countries in the world and trying to cook a dish from that land.
Awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So Side Quest has lived on, even though we're past it. It's definitely inspired our family to try something new because it was a lot of fun.
Sweet.
Cool, y'all. Well, that's good. We got our assignment. That means that the next poll, since we've kicked these down the curb over and over, you finally got to decide: are we cleaning up a park, or are we what's the other one? Reconnecting with friends.
Reconnecting with old friends.
Yep.
Are we reconnecting with friends? So look forward to that.
So
poll.
let's clarify the clean the park real quick. If we do clean the park, can we do it jointly with other people and enjoy it, or is it got to be a solo thing?
I think the more people you have cleaning a park, multiple parks, a road together is a testament to what the Legion of Dorks is capable of when we set our minds to something.
Yeah.
In my mind, that kind of thing is as many people as you want in a big as landmass as you want. Just be a part of cleaning up something. I think that's a good representation of the community in your community. So let's think about that ahead of time. So don't go out there by yourself with a stick and just you don't have to do that. You can team up. Just the important thing. Don't be on the side of the road by yourself. Like you can find friends.
Buddy system.
Yeah, so that's good. Or the reconnect with old friends one, which means you got to step out your comfort zone and like call people that you miss. They don't have to be people you don't like. It's just people that you haven't talked to in a while. Whether that's 3 months or 6 months, just call somebody up. So that's it for Quest. That poll will be going live tomorrow, and we'll see what we're doing for that time. Now, before we leave, we've got our obviously running season goal of charities, earning money for charity. Travis, do you have any updates on how you're doing?
moving right along. I have printed off a number of miniatures. I have orders for a few. I'm working on painting them. And I have decided my charity. I am pulling for the American Cancer Society.
Nice. Well
Um,
done.
so, yeah,
Cool.
it's going well. I've got a lot of painting to do still, so
Yeah.
I need to work on that, but we're getting there.
Any particular reason you went with the American Cancer Society?
I lost my aunt to cancer when I was about 19 or 20. I mean, Emerald, even though dog cancer is very different, but
Mhm.
cancer, everybody is affected by it at some point.
Yeah.
You can't really find somebody who has never had someone that's been affected by it, whether or not they've passed away, but it touches everyone.
Yeah.
And we're getting better and better, and we're getting closer to breakthroughs, but they still need funding and need to get there. So
Yeah, sure. Very cool. Jacob, how's your thing doing, and what charity are you going with?
I am at $58 right now. I've turned my $28 or $20 into $58.
Nice.
And I even have meat in the fridge for beef jerky that I'm going to be selling. And my charity, this is going to sound so. I always do JDRF, and JDRF season comes end of July and it ends in October. And I feel like this would be a good way to kickstart my JDRF campaign this year. I've been doing it for the better part of 15 years, raising money every year for JDRF, and so I feel like I'm going to continue that, especially since we'll be ending the side quest season the week that we start kicking off the big JDRF season. So I feel like this would be a good Kickstarter into my main fundraising campaign for JDRF. And JDRF is Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. It's for the kids that have diabetes. It's an autoimmune disorder that we really don't have a full understanding of. And we're looking for a cure every day. And we're getting closer and closer. And hopefully with a little bit extra cash, it can fund some more research that would actually get us there. So that's what I'm going to hopefully donate all my money to, and hopefully all your money to too, Stephen. What are you choosing?
Oh, yeah, very nice. Yeah, so my
Whatever I sell you all the pineapple.
whenever you sell me all the pineapple. No, so I've got $20. I'm hoping that I'm a sleeper champion, and I come back from the end once I sit down and print some darn stickers and tell people about them. Quit being so anxious about asking people for money for things that I make, because I don't feel like what I make is worth a nickel. That's not looking for sympathy. That's just a common thread in my family's existence. Is the way if I make things that are beautiful, but I'm too afraid to sell them. So that's the thing. But I got $20. But when I do win, when I come from behind and win this thing, I'm going to be giving that money to Project ALS. It's a charity to support ALS research. So my aunt, similar to Travis's story, my aunt passed away from ALS. That's just a debilitating, terrible disease that we desperately need a cure for, because it's one of those slow burns, and it just takes everything. So this is just a charity that supports projects and makes sure that they're open and transparent with everything they do in order to receive that money. So it's a pretty cool system. But I'm excited about hopefully winning to help more people. And to be honest, no matter who wins here, somebody's winning, because it means the charity gets a big old chunk of money that will be helpful to them in trying to fight off several terrible things that we're all working on. But cool. So now you know who to throw your money to. Which charity do you care about the most? No, I'm kidding. That's not what I want. But yeah. So hey, man, good deal.
It is interesting that we all three went with medical or some kind of health related charity as opposed to Toys for Tots or gamer, kid gamer type of things, or you know what I mean. It's interesting. We all went with health related ones.
I started to go with one that is another one that's kind of near and dear. Not that they helped me, but that the story of the stuff they do. It's called Special Effect. It's a charity out of the UK. But I couldn't figure out how to donate in pounds, or if I could do that or not, and I was struggling with the conversion. So I'm like, I'll find other ways to donate. But they make gaming apparatuses for kids with disabilities. So they're big thing, which is
That's cool.
Always people like video games, but then when you see a child light up because they can finally play a game with their friends, it's just like it's happiness is all you're trying to go for there, and that it's really cool. But yeah, that's another one. But yeah, so that's our updates for where we are there. Again, send me all your money. I need to beat Jacob.
You're both gonna lose to me anyway. It doesn't
you're
matter.
probably right. He's over there printing the most gorgeous minis I've ever seen. Well, if you've enjoyed this show, let us know how you like it by just rating it on any service that you're part of. Throw in a quick, hey, the show is great. I like what they do, and 5 stars. And don't forget, join us on our quest. One of the best ways that you can support us is just by being there with us and teaming up on doing these things. So we look forward to seeing you complete your culinary challenge. Take a picture of it, whatever. If you take a picture of what you made, throw it on Instagram or Twitter with the LOD Side Quest hashtag, and we'll be able to see what you got going on there. And don't forget to vote for the next poll, twodorks.net/poll. Are we cleaning a park or are we reconnecting with old friends? We leave it up to you, the deciders of our fate. And we will see you next time here on Side Quests.
I'm going on an adventure!
And we're done.
Woo! Did it.
Woo, woo.
Nailed it.
Now, first
9
try.
chicken eggs.
Boom, boom, boom. Another
First
one bites
try.
dust.
Well, sure, they can know about it. That's fine. It doesn't have
Boo.
to be like out of the blue. In fact, had that been our quest this week, I had the perfect because I got to see and spend time with one of my closest friends last night for we probably sat and talked for 3 hours. And I hadn't seen him in 18 months.
Ooh.